Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be exploring the idea of higher consciousness.
Okay.
That, kind of elusive state we all seem to be striving for.
Right.
Um, you've shared some excerpts from Ken Key's Handbook to Higher Consciousness,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to dig into his ideas about how our ancient jungle programming might be holding us back.
Yeah, his work is really fascinating. He was
Yeah.
really ahead of his time.
Yeah, and it seems to suggest that we can reprogram ourselves for a more fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
But first, we need to understand how this programming works, right?
Right.
So, have you ever felt that jolt of panic when you miss a deadline?
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe your pulse starts racing when someone cuts you off in traffic?
All the time.
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
those are classic examples of our, fight or flight response. Something that, our ancestors relied on to survive.
Right.
But in our modern world, this ancient programming might be doing more harm than good.
Definitely.
Before we get too deep into that, though, could you give us some background on Ken Keyes himself?
Sure.
Who was he, and what made him such a pioneer in the field of personal growth?
Well, Ken Keyes was, like I said, really ahead of his time,
Yeah.
exploring the idea that our minds are like biocomputers
Okay.
running outdated software
Interesting.
back in the 1970s.
Wow.
And he believed that we could actually reprogram our thinking
Okay.
to live more joyful and fulfilling lives.
So this outdated software is what he called jungle programming then.
Exactly.
So that's those automatic responses.
Yeah, fear, anger, duality
Okay.
that were essential for survival back in the day.
Yeah, in our evolutionary past.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so we're running on this jungle programming.
We are.
And it's not exactly helping us thrive in the modern world.
Not always.
So what did Keyes offer as an alternative?
Well, he contrasted this jungle programming with the concept of higher consciousness,
Okay.
which is a state of awareness characterized by love, oneness, and a deeper understanding.
So it's like upgrading our mental software, so to speak.
Precisely.
Okay.
And to understand this upgrade process, we need to understand one of the main things that prevents it,
Uh-huh.
which is what Keyes referred to as addiction.
Addiction. So we're not just talking about substance abuse here, right?
Right. Keyes had a broader definition.
Okay.
He saw an addiction as any desire that causes upset if it's not fulfilled. So think of it this way.
Okay.
Let's say you're addicted to having your morning coffee a very specific way.
Okay. Yeah.
Even if you get it perfectly 99% of the time,
Right.
that 1% where it's wrong can completely throw you off.
I think we've all been there, letting those small things control our mood, right?
Exactly.
So how do we start to break free from these addictions and move towards this state of higher consciousness?
Well, Keyes believed that understanding the way our minds work is crucial.
Okay.
He used the metaphor of a biocomputer to describe the brain.
Right.
Your brain is capable of incredible processing power, handling millions of inputs simultaneously.
Wow.
But it's often operating on pre-programmed instructions,
Uh-huh.
much like outdated software.
So the key is to reprogram those instructions.
Right.
But how do we even begin to do that?
Well, Keyes laid out what he called the 12 pathways to higher consciousness as a set of guidelines for rewiring our biocomputers.
Okay, so 12 is quite a lot to unpack today.
Yeah, we don't have time for all of that.
But maybe we can focus on a few that are particularly relevant to navigating the challenges of modern life.
Yeah.
Like information overload.
Yeah, that's a big one these days.
Right.
One that jumps out is being here now.
Okay.
Key's emphasis on living fully in the present moment.
Right.
When we're constantly dwelling on the past or worrying about the future,
Yeah.
we miss out on the richness of what's happening right now.
It's about escaping those mental time travel loops.
Yes.
And dropping into the present moment.
Exactly.
What are some other pathways that might resonate with our listener?
Another important one is taking responsibility,
Okay.
recognizing that we have the power to choose how we respond to any situation.
So rather than blaming external circumstances or other people for our problems, we're empowered to choose our reactions.
Exactly.
Okay.
When we take responsibility, we become active participants in shaping our own realities.
So it's like we're stepping into the driver's seat of our lives.
Yes.
Rather than being a passenger.
Exactly.
What else?
Keyes also stressed the importance of conscious communication.
Right.
He believed that clear, honest, and respectful expression of our feelings was vital.
Especially in today's world where so much communication is rushed,
Yeah.
reactive, or full of misunderstandings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about learning to express ourselves in a way that fosters genuine connection and avoids unnecessary conflict.
And that can be especially valuable in our Personal and professional lives,
Absolutely.
where clear communication can make a huge difference.
It can make or break things.
These pathways seem to offer a powerful set of tools for personal growth.
Definitely.
But Keyes also talks about the 7 centers of consciousness, right?
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about what those are
Sure.
and how they fit into the overall picture?
Well, think of the 7 centers of consciousness as a scale for understanding your different levels of awareness.
Okay.
Each center represents a distinct way of experiencing the world with its own set of motivations, emotions, and behaviors.
So it's like a map of our inner landscape,
Exactly.
guiding us towards those higher states of consciousness.
Yes, precisely.
While there are 7 centers,
Right.
Keyes highlights a few that are particularly relevant to our journey toward higher consciousness.
Yes.
Let's start with what he called the lower centers,
Okay.
since those seem to be connected to the jungle programming we talked about earlier.
Right. These are the ones that are often running the show
Yeah.
without us even realizing it.
So which ones are those?
The lower centers are security, sensation, and power, and they're driven by fear, desire, and ego. They're all about trying to control the external world to meet our needs and avoid discomfort.
It's the realm of that primal jungle programming,
It is.
where we're constantly on alert for danger or seeking pleasure and validation.
That's it.
So it's like that feeling of never enough,
Yeah.
always striving, always seeking, but never quite finding true fulfillment.
Right.
While these lower centers served us well in our evolutionary past,
Right.
they often keep us stuck in cycles of fear, anxiety, and conflict in modern life.
They do.
So how do we move beyond these lower centers?
Well, Keyes pointed to the love center as a key turning point in our journey toward higher consciousness.
Okay.
It's characterized by unconditional acceptance, compassion, and a deeper understanding of interconnectedness.
It's that shift from me versus you to we're all in this together that we talked about.
Exactly.
And from the love center, we can access even higher states of awareness, like the cornucopia center.
Right.
This is where things get really interesting. The cornucopia center. Tell me more.
Okay, so picture this.
Okay.
It's a state of abundance, flow, and effortless joy, where life feels like a symphony of synchronicities.
Wow. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that.
It's really something.
It sounds almost magical. It's that everything just falls into place.
It can feel that way.
Wow.
You're in the right place at the right time.
Uh-huh.
Opportunities seem to appear out of thin air.
Is that what it's like?
Yeah, you feel a deep sense of alignment with your purpose.
Okay.
And a profound sense of gratitude for all that you have.
I can see why that would be considered a higher state of consciousness.
Absolutely.
But if these lower centers are so ingrained in us,
Yeah.
how do we even begin to access these higher centers, like love and cornucopia?
Well, Keyes provides a variety of techniques for reprogramming our biocomputers.
Okay.
But one of the most foundational ones is pinpointing the addiction.
Yeah.
It's about identifying the specific desires or fears that are causing you distress.
So that are keeping us stuck in those lower centers of consciousness.
Exactly.
So it sounds like the first step is becoming aware of the patterns that are holding us back.
Yes, awareness is key.
What's next?
Once you've identified an addiction,
Uh-huh.
you can use a tool that Keyes calls the Always U.S. Living Love Catalyst.
Wow. What is that?
It's a mental mantra designed to shift your focus away from duality and separation
Okay.
and toward unity and love.
So instead of seeing ourselves as separate from others, we cultivate a sense of interconnectedness and shared humanity.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this shift in perspective can have a profound impact on our relationships, our sense of belonging, and our overall well-being.
It sounds like we're just scratching the surface of Keyes' work here.
We are.
What else can we expect to uncover as we continue this deep dive?
Well, in the next part of our deep dive,
Okay.
we'll take a closer look at the 7 centers of consciousness,
Right.
exploring each one in more detail and understanding how they play out in your daily life.
I can't wait.
We'll also dive deeper into Keyes' practical techniques for identifying and overcoming those addictions that keep us stuck.
This is already giving me a lot to think about.
It's powerful stuff.
We'll be back soon to continue our exploration of higher consciousness in part 2 of this deep dive. Welcome back to the deep dive. Last time we were talking about Ken Keyes' concept of the 7 centers of consciousness.
Right.
Those different levels of awareness that shape how we experience the world.
Exactly.
We touched on those lower centers, security, sensation, and power, and how they can sometimes keep us stuck in those old patterns of jungle programming.
Right. It's easy to get caught in those loops.
I'm really curious to understand more about how these lower centers actually play out in our daily lives.
Sure.
Where do we see them showing up?
Well, those lower centers can be sneaky.
Yeah.
They often operate below our conscious awareness.
Right.
Let's start with the security center,
Okay.
our most primal level of awareness.
Okay.
It's all about seeking safety and security in the external world. Financial stability, a comfortable home,
Okay.
routine,
Well,
predictability.
see, I mean, who doesn't want to feel secure?
Exactly.
What's the problem with operating from this center?
The issue is that when the security center is in overdrive,
Okay.
it can make us risk-averse, clinging to the familiar, resistant to change.
Right.
We might find ourselves constantly worrying, obsessing over potential threats,
Yeah.
or even isolating ourselves to avoid perceived dangers.
So it's like we're always on edge, waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Exactly.
I've definitely been there.
It can be exhausting.
Yeah.
You know, it drains our energy and prevents us from truly relaxing and enjoying life.
Okay. So maybe a little less time in the security center would be a good thing.
Probably.
What about the sensation center?
Ah, yes.
I have a feeling I know a few people who spend a lot of time there.
You're probably right about that.
Yeah.
The sensation center is all about seeking pleasure and avoiding pain, driven by our senses and the desire for enjoyment.
Oh, yeah, I can relate to that. Who doesn't love a delicious meal or a beautiful sunset?
Of course.
Where's the downside?
The potential pitfall with the sensation center
Okay.
is when we become overly attached to those pleasurable experiences.
Right.
When our happiness hinges on constant external stimulation,
Okay.
we end up on a hedonistic treadmill,
Yeah.
chasing the next dopamine hit,
Yeah.
but never feeling truly satisfied.
I've definitely fallen into that trap.
It's a common one.
Always looking for the next thing to make me happy instead of finding contentment in what's already present.
Our senses are designed to adapt, so
Yeah.
what feels intensely pleasurable at first eventually becomes less so as we get used to it.
I see, yeah.
And that leads us to seek more and more, which ultimately creates a cycle of dissatisfaction.
Okay, so to avoid getting stuck in the sensation center,
Yeah.
it seems like we need to cultivate a sense of inner peace
Right.
and contentment that isn't dependent on fleeting sensations.
Exactly. Learning to savor those moments of pleasure without clinging to them,
Right.
knowing that true fulfillment doesn't come from chasing external highs.
Okay, we've covered security and sensation.
We have.
What about the power center?
The power center is driven by the ego,
Okay.
the desire to feel important, capable,
Oh, yeah.
and in control. We might seek power through status, recognition,
Right.
wealth, or even just winning arguments.
Ah, yes, the need to be right.
Exactly.
I think we all know a few people who operate primarily from the power center.
I think we do.
It doesn't always make for the most harmonious relationships, does it?
Not always.
When our need for power is threatened,
Yeah.
we can become defensive, aggressive, or even manipulative.
That's right.
It's that my way or the highway mentality
Mm-hmm.
that can prevent us from truly collaborating and connecting with others.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like even if we do achieve some sense of power,
Yeah.
it's often fleeting
It is.
and doesn't bring lasting happiness.
That's right. It's like building a castle on a foundation of sand.
Okay.
It might look impressive for a while,
Yeah.
but it's not going to stand the test of time.
Okay, so we've got a pretty good understanding of those lower centers, security, sensation, and power, and how they can show up in our lives.
Right.
But what about those higher centers?
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear more about what it's like to operate from a place of love, abundance,
Okay.
and conscious awareness.
That's where things get really exciting.
Oh,
As
good.
we move beyond those lower centers,
Uh-huh.
we tap into a whole new realm of experience.
The love center, as we mentioned before,
Right.
is characterized by unconditional acceptance, compassion, and a deep sense of interconnectedness.
Yes. It's the realization that we're all part of something much greater than ourselves.
It's that shift from me versus you to a sense of we're all in this together that we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
I can see how that would lead to more harmonious relationships.
Absolutely.
And from the love center, we can access the cornucopia center,
Right.
that state of pure abundance, flow, and effortless joy.
That beautiful symphony of synchronicities.
Yes, I'm really intrigued by the cornucopia center.
Yeah.
It sounds almost magical,
It can feel that way.
like everything just falls into place.
Think of it as a state where everything flows effortlessly.
Okay.
You're in the right place at the right time.
Uh-huh.
Opportunities seem to appear out of thin air.
Wow.
You feel a deep sense of alignment with your purpose and a profound sense of gratitude for all that you have.
Is that really what it's like?
It can be.
Wow, it sounds like a state of pure possibility.
It really is.
But if these lower centers are so ingrained in us, how do we even begin to shift our focus from lack and limitation to abundance and gratitude?
It takes practice.
Oh.
But as we cultivate that attitude of gratitude, we open ourselves up to receive even more abundance.
So instead of focusing on what we don't have, we appreciate all the good that's already present in our lives.
Exactly.
And as we cultivate that attitude of gratitude, we open ourselves up to receive even more abundance.
It's like we're tuning our inner radio to the frequency of abundance. And the universe responds in kind.
Okay, and just to clarify, we're not just talking about material abundance.
Right. The Cornucopia Center encompasses abundance in all areas of our lives.
Okay.
Love, creativity, purpose, joy, connection.
Okay.
It's a state of wholeness and contentment that comes from within.
Okay, so we've got love and cornucopia.
Yes.
That leaves us with the Conscious Awareness Center.
Right.
What does it mean to operate from that level of awareness?
The Conscious Awareness Center is where we become the observer of our own thoughts, emotions, and experiences.
Okay.
Imagine taking a step back from the drama of your life.
Okay.
And witnessing it with a sense of detachment and objectivity.
It's like we're watching a movie of our own lives.
Yeah.
But we're not caught up in the storyline anymore.
That's a good way to put it.
We can observe those thoughts and emotions coming and going without getting swept away by them.
Exactly.
We can see our reactions without judgment.
Right.
And choose how we want to respond.
It's a place of incredible freedom and empowerment.
So instead of being ruled by our emotions,
Yes.
we become the masters of our inner world.
Exactly. From this vantage point of conscious awareness, we can start to detach from our old programming, those limiting beliefs and patterns that keep us stuck in those lower centers of consciousness.
Right.
We can choose to align ourselves with those higher principles of love, compassion, and wisdom.
So it sounds like we're upgrading our mental software.
Yes.
Installing new programs that support our growth and evolution.
We got it.
And as we practice operating from these higher centers, they become our default setting.
They do?
We start to experience life through a new lens.
Exactly.
One that allows us to navigate challenges with more grace, resilience, and joy. This has been an incredibly insightful exploration of the 7 centers of consciousness.
It's a fascinating model.
I'm still curious about how we can actually make those shifts.
Yeah.
From those lower centers to those higher states of awareness.
Right. How do we actually put this into practice?
Exactly.
Well, that's where Key's practical techniques come in.
Okay.
And that's what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
I'm ready to dive in. We'll be right back with part 3 of our exploration of higher consciousness. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring Ken Key's ideas about higher consciousness.
Right.
And how to break free from the limitations of our, jungle programming.
That outdated software that we're all running.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From understanding those primal instincts driving our behavior to mapping out the terrain of our inner landscape with the 7 centers of consciousness.
It's a fascinating journey.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get into the practical stuff now. What specific techniques does Keys offer to help us move beyond those lower centers of awareness?
All right.
The security, sensation, and power centers, and access those higher states of love, cornucopia, and conscious awareness?
Well, one technique that stands out is consciousness focusing.
Okay, we touched on consciousness focusing a little bit earlier.
Right.
It's the technique that involves physical tension and repetition.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I'll be honest. I'm a little hesitant.
I understand.
Sounds a bit out there.
It's not your typical self-help technique.
Right.
But it can be surprisingly effective.
Okay, so walk me through it.
Okay.
How does it actually work?
So let's imagine you've identified a specific fear that's causing you distress.
Okay.
Maybe a fear of public speaking.
A common one.
Very common.
Yeah.
The first step is to fully immerse yourself in that feeling.
Oh, good.
Don't try to push it away or deny it.
So we lean into the discomfort.
You do.
That seems counterintuitive.
It might feel strange at first, but it's important to remember that what we resist persists.
Okay.
We need to shine a light on those shadow aspects of ourselves to transform them.
Okay, I'm willing to give it a try.
All right.
So we immerse ourselves in the fear.
Yes.
What's next?
Once you've got a good grip on the feeling, you start to amplify it physically.
Physically?
Yeah, you might clench your fists, tense your muscles.
Oh,
or even yell out loud.
This is where it starts to feel a little intense for me.
It can be.
Yeah.
But the idea is to shake things up on a physiological level.
Okay.
It's like giving your nervous system a jolt.
To snap it out of its habitual patterns.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's about creating a disruption in our usual way of responding to fear.
That's it.
All right, what's next?
And now for the most important part, reprogramming.
Okay.
You choose a phrase that directly contradicts the limiting belief or fear that you're working with.
So in the case of public speaking,
Right.
it might be something like, I am a confident and engaging speaker. Okay, so it's about replacing that negative self-talk
Yes.
with a more empowering message.
Precisely.
Okay.
And you repeat that affirmation over and over again while maintaining the physical tension you've built up.
So imagine yourself clenching your fists, tensing your muscles,
Yes.
and yelling out, I am a confident and engaging speaker.
Exactly.
Okay, I can see how that kind of intensity could really make an impact.
It can be very powerful.
But does it actually work?
Well, many people find it to be incredibly effective.
Okay.
The idea is that through this focused effort, you're literally reprogramming your subconscious mind,
Okay.
replacing those old fear-based programs with new, empowering beliefs.
So it's like we're rewiring our brains
Yes.
to respond differently to those previously feared situations.
Exactly.
Consciousness focusing sounds like a powerful technique.
It is.
Are there any other tools that Keys offers for breaking free from those lower centers
Yeah.
and accessing those higher states of awareness?
One of the most fundamental practices he emphasizes is cultivating awareness of the present moment.
Okay, being present.
He called it being here now.
Right.
It's about shifting our attention away from those mental time travel loops.
Yeah, the worries and regrets and anxieties.
Exactly.
And just dropping into the richness of the present experience.
That's it.
So being fully present with whatever is happening right now.
Yes.
Without getting caught up in the past or future.
That's the key.
Okay.
And it's not about emptying our minds or blocking out thoughts.
Right.
It's about simply observing them without judgment,
Okay.
as if they were clouds passing by in the sky.
I could see how that could be really helpful for dealing with information overload.
Yes, it's a great antidote.
And the constant distractions of modern life.
It is. It can help you find that stillness.
But how do we actually quiet those mental chatterboxes?
It takes practice.
Okay.
But even a few minutes of focused breathing
Okay.
or mindful movement can make a big difference.
And we can integrate these practices into our daily routine
Absolutely.
while eating,
Yeah.
walking, showering, or even working.
It's about finding those little moments.
So we're not talking about hours of meditation or retreating to a monastery.
No, not at all.
We're talking about simple,
Yeah,
sustainable practices that we can weave into our everyday lives.
exactly.
As you cultivate present moment awareness, you'll notice that those thoughts lose their grip on you.
They do.
You create a sense of space and stillness within yourself,
Yeah.
even amid the chaos of daily life.
That's the beauty of it.
And Keys believes that this practice is essential for accessing those higher centers of consciousness, right?
It does.
When we're fully present, we're not as easily triggered by those lower center fears and desires.
Right. We have more space to choose our response.
We're more able to respond to life's challenges with wisdom and compassion.
Exactly.
It's like we're building a foundation of inner peace
Yeah.
that allows us to navigate those ups and downs with more grace and resilience.
I love that analogy.
And the beautiful thing is that cultivating present moment awareness is available to us at any time.
It is. It's always there.
Right.
Waiting for us to tap into it.
The more you practice, the more natural it becomes.
Absolutely.
This deep dive has been a powerful exploration of Ken Key's work.
It's inspiring stuff.
It is. It's
Yeah.
inspiring to know that we have so much more control over our inner world than we often realize.
Much more.
We're not victims of our programming.
Right.
We have the power to choose our thoughts, beliefs, and ultimately our experience of life.
Well, also,
Keys reminds us,
yes.
happiness is the continuous or almost continuous experience of getting what you are willing to accept.
That's a powerful one.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It suggests that true happiness isn't about getting everything we want,
Right.
but about finding peace within ourselves,
Exactly.
regardless of our external circumstance.
That's the key.
It's about letting go of that constant striving and allowing ourselves to experience contentment in the present moment.
Beautiful.
And as we cultivate that inner peace and acceptance,
Yeah.
we often find that we attract more of what we desire.
It's amazing how that works.
It's not about forcing or manipulating.
Right.
It's about aligning ourselves with the flow of life
Yes.
and trusting that the universe will support us on our journey.
Trust is essential.
This has been an incredibly enriching conversation.
It has.
I'm feeling inspired to experiment with these techniques
That's great.
and begin reprogramming my own biocomputer
I love it.
for a more fulfilling and joyful life.
That's what it's all about.
Thank you so much for guiding us on this deep dive into higher consciousness.
My pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
Likewise, and to our listener, keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep expanding your awareness.
Yes, the journey to higher consciousness is a profound adventure worth taking. Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. We'll see you next time.